Hello and welcome. My name is Debbie Chulick. I'm one of the dementia educators at Alzheimer's Resource of Alaska. This is a new venture that we're starting, a new partnership. We're calling it Talking Dementia. This particular talk is about holidays and dementia. This is the first of a two-part talk about holidays and dementia. The one that we'll be doing in December will be on Saturday, December 17th from 10 to 11:30 a.m. Today, we're going to be talking about traveling and dementia. We're going to be talking about some gift ideas for folks living with dementia, and we're going to be talking about some communication tips along the way. Next month, for December, we're going to be talking about what it means to honor connection and have some positive visits. I'll also be talking about activity ideas to do with people living with dementia. And we'll talk about the spiritual side of helping or assisting a person living with dementia. So I'll give some ideas for connection and activities and spiritual connection next month. So hopefully you'll all be able to join us for that. So I want to start just by inviting everyone to take a couple deep breaths. It's Friday afternoon. We can center ourselves and just kind of be present in the moment. I need to do that myself. So just take a couple deep breaths and settle into the space. Thank you all and welcome. That's important for me to remember as I move forward with any kind of activity planning. I want to show a little picture, a little diagram to start with. And if we can try to remember this, I know for myself, I have to hear things in multiple ways and in multiple times for it to really sink in. Someone showed this picture to me and it made a lot of sense. So the idea is, this is reality. Think about a horizontal line. This is reality. We cannot change reality. But then think about our expectations and think about your level of frustration. The idea is the further that we get from reality, the more we have expectations, the potential higher level of frustration we will have. So during this holiday season, as you're spending time with your loved ones, if they're living with dementia or starting to experience confusion, I invite you just to remember this. Boy, if I'm feeling really, really frustrated, my frustration is way up here. Where is my expectation in regards to reality? So again, think of reality as a horizontal line. We can't change reality, but we can lower our expectations. If we lower our expectations to be closer to reality, then there's a chance we will have less frustration. So thank you all for being here. I'm so glad to have you with us, and we're going to jump in. So as we're talking about our time today, specifically today, we're going to be talking about traveling with someone living with dementia. We're going to be talking about some gift ideas, and we'll be talking about communication tips along the way. So first thing I want to offer to you is the idea that in any holiday travel or planning, it's important to be flexible, have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C, be willing to come back to plan A if need be, and have balance. So first, I want to talk about some travel ideas and some tips for a good holiday season. First tip for a good holiday season is to involve your loved one as much as possible in the preparation. Now, that's going to look different for each person. Some people are maybe their earlier stages and they can still do pretty much a lot of what we would do at the holiday time. Maybe they can write out their own cards. Maybe they can put stamps on the envelopes if they're no longer able to write. Maybe they can wrap the gifts, or maybe they can supervise. So it's so important to involve your loved one as much as possible, including even if they're just watching you. So if they're watching you and they're following, they're present with you, then that's a good thing. They don't necessarily have to be involved in pulling down the boxes from the attic or the crawl space and unpacking things, but they might be able to do that. And you'll hear me talk about that a lot during this time that we have together, that it's really an individual journey. Everyone has different strengths, everyone has different abilities, and everyone has different levels of interest, including people living with dementia. So the next tip for a good holiday season is to be prepared as much as possible, especially when it comes to things like medications or incontinence supplies. If you're going to be traveling with your loved one, you're definitely going to want to make sure to have medications refilled and incontinence supplies at the ready. I'll go into a little bit more detail about else to put into your travel bag, but I've got these 7 tips for a good holiday season. I'm sorry, 8 tips. So involve your loved one in the preparation as much as possible. That's number 1. Number 2 is be prepared with medications and incontinence supplies. Number 3 is think about the environment where you're going to be spending the holidays. Meaning, many times uh, it's kind of an oxymoron that we say people with dementia like consistency and routine. And here we are at the holidays when everything is different, right? So think about the environment where you're going to be staying. Think about the 4th one, a little quiet area, preparing in advance for some downtime, for some times that you don't have to be on all the time. The next one, when we think about a great holiday season, is think about the holiday traditions of your loved ones and try to incorporate some of those into the holiday season. So if you know that music, Christmas carols, or singing was important to your loved one, try to include some of those old traditions and those old memories as much as possible. Same thing with foods. If your family has always done a nut roll or a fruit cake or a special holiday platter of some kind, it doesn't mean your loved one can no longer do that. It means that they might need assistance to do that. Or they might, again, be the supervisor. If they're not able to physically chop the nuts or chop the fruit, they can supervise. They can tell someone else how to do it, kind of pass down that family tradition or recipe. 6, we want to think about reducing embarrassment. As much as possible, let people know what's going on. If they're family, they're probably already aware that your loved one is having difficulties. They're probably already aware that your loved one is experiencing cognitive changes, but you just want to reduce embarrassment as much as possible. If your loved one spills food, for example, or gets something on them or spills their drink on the table, just, oh, it's no big deal. It happens to all of us. And just quickly mop it up and kind of move on to the next thing. The 7th tip is plan for help. A lot of people may want to help at this time of year, especially when you're traveling, but they might feel powerless. They might feel uninformed about what they can do. Don't hesitate to ask people for help. You can give them a specific task or a specific request, including asking for help ahead of time. You can give, if you're going to be staying at someone's home or dining at someone's home, give them a heads up or a clue that your loved one may need to take a break or take a rest. Is there a quiet room where they can sit for a while and then come back and be a part of the gathering? And finally, we want to remember that the holidays are very often a lonely and depressing time for people as they age. We think of the songs, it's the most wonderful time of year, and in many ways it is. But we also want to remember that we are aging and our loved ones are aging. Maybe this past year they've had some friends that have passed on, or they've had some relatives that have died. We want to be sensitive and aware that not every moment of every day is going to be firecrackers and fireworks. There may be some sadness and some loneliness and some depression that you might notice. I always encourage family caregivers to watch for patterns. If you start to see that your loved one is very weepy every day around 4 o'clock, then around 4 o'clock, you're going to want to think of some things that might bring them a sense of calm or a sense of solace or a sense of peace, whether that's some spiritual music or hugging a pillow or teddy bear or taking a nap, whatever it might be. Along those lines, we want to take care of ourselves as well. If you are a family caregiver or a friend of someone who's living with dementia, it's really important to remember your emotional needs this time of year. Whether that means reaching out to a friend, making a phone call, connecting on the computer, in some way, it's really a lovely idea to think about how can I care for myself as well. One of the things that goes back to asking for help, if you're traveling to another city or another state or another country for that matter for the holidays, see if you can build in some times for you to get back and take a break, go for a walk, go for a massage, write in a journal, do some artwork, and give your loved ones or friends opportunities to be with your person who's living with dementia. Any questions so far? Okay, let's think about specifically traveling and some traveling ideas. When we think about traveling with someone living with dementia, planning ahead is going to be key. It might be a little bit more expensive, but think about traveling when the person is feeling their best, which is typically during the day. It might be easier to travel at night, but like I said, it might be better for your loved one to travel during the day. We want to be sure not to leave our loved ones alone in the airport or bus station or train station, however you're traveling, because we may make it perfectly clear to them, stay right here, right? I'm going to the bathroom, stay right here. And they may hear the noises in the airport or the terminal, get very confused and go looking for you. We want to be prepared for situations like that. One suggestion is to have the person's itinerary, have your travel itinerary on their possession. Make sure that you make extra copies. Stick a copy in their pocket or their backpack or their carry-on bag. Also, you might want to pin something to their clothing with your contact information, a business card or a small piece of paper that has your name and cell phone number. It might say something like, My traveling companion experiences confusion. If you find this note, please call me at, and give your cell phone number. As much as possible, again, try not to leave the person alone in the terminal. Airports and travel agencies are getting much better at being dementia friendly, meaning most airports have a family bathroom. Most airports, not all airports, obviously, but I will say some, because I obviously haven't been in every airport. But it is something that we're thinking about as a society, that sometimes it's more convenient to have a family bathroom. Now, if that is not an option, send your loved one into the bathroom first. You stay outside the door, wait for them to come out, and then see if you can find someone who works at the airport, someone who is manning a booth or someone who's walking by. Ask them if they work there. Say, can you please stand with my loved one for just a moment while I run into the restroom, if there's absolutely no chance of using a family restroom. You also want to have your friends and family aware of your travel situation. Let them know how you're going to be traveling, how you're going to be arriving. Also, you might think about having their phone number on your loved one's possession. If for whatever reason they can't get a hold of you, you might want to have a standby phone number. When we think about traveling, we want to be flexible, have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C. Like I mentioned, be willing to come back to plan A if need be. If you're using the airlines now are wonderful at what they call gate-to-gate assistance. You can request this ahead of time. See if the airline that you're using has gate-to-gate assistance. They will come with a wheelchair and meet you right at the front gate, right at the front door of the airport, and help you through security, help you get to the gate. And many times they will wait with you until you and your loved one get on the plane. They don't always wait with you, but you certainly can get to the gate safely. And again, that would be your opportunity to use the restroom, take care of your personal needs while your loved one is with another person. The other thing when we think about traveling with someone with dementia is think outside the box. Be willing to try anything. If you usually stay with family or friends at their home and you're feeling some anxiety about that, what if my loved one has an accident? What if they accidentally have some incontinence? What if, you might think about staying at a hotel. I know that adds to the cost, but it's something to think about as an option. The positive, one of the pros of that decision is there are times where you will have to yourself completely downtime. You can attend to your loved one's physical needs without having to worry that something will be ruined or broken or whatever might occur. So that's something to think about. Think about staying at a hotel. When you're traveling, you want to make sure to carry a travel bag. In the travel bag, take a change of clothes for your loved one. Even if they don't have incontinence, they might on a vacation. When you're least wanting something to occur, it's just better to be prepared and not need it rather than not have it when you need it. You're also going to make sure that your itinerary is in that travel bag with contact information. Take a sweater or a shawl for your loved one. Make sure that they dress in layers so they can, if they get too hot, they can take something off legally, safely and legally, they can take something off, or make sure that they can put something on if they get too cold. You're also going to want to take some snacks and your medications. Be sure to, in case your luggage gets lost, be sure to pack your medications or your loved one's medications in your carry-on bag. As far as snacks, think about, I know we're not allowed to take water through security, but once you get through security, they have little stands where you can buy a bottle of water or some juice, whatever your loved one might need. Think about their favorite snacks that you can use if they start to become distressed. Hey, I know that things are feeling stressful right now. I've got some of your favorite cookies. Why don't we go sit down in the plane and you can enjoy a cookie while we take off and where we're going? The other thing to possibly pack, again, depending on your loved one, is something that they really enjoy. If they're familiar with using earbuds, you can certainly take that along. But if they're not familiar with that, don't use your travel time to introduce a new piece of equipment or a new idea to them. You're going to want to take things that are familiar and comfortable. Maybe it's a little squishy animal or some sort of little manipulative stuffed animal. Maybe it's a little puzzle book or a book of poems or prayers. So those are some things to be aware of when you travel. The other thing when we think about traveling is we want to keep things as familiar as possible. But again, everything is different at the holidays. So be prepared for emotional times where it feels like, gosh, maybe this was a mistake. Maybe we shouldn't have come on vacation. That is completely normal to feel that way. I recommend when you can, if your loved one is at the point of a meltdown, see if you can have them or yourself take a little nap. You don't necessarily want to throw in the towel and say, forget it, that's it, we're going home, this was a mistake. You have that option. You absolutely have that option. But before you get to that point, try some other things. See if you can get your loved one to take a nap. See if they're thirsty. Maybe they're dehydrated a little bit. Maybe their blood sugar's a little low. Offer them a little snack. See if you can redirect them with some music or some gentle touch, holding their hand, whatever it might be. We want to keep things, like I mentioned, as familiar as possible, but things are going to be different around the holidays. You also want to make sure that your loved one has identification about who they are and where they live. So not just your information. My companion has confusion or sometimes has difficulties, but their information. This is John. He lives in Alaska. He experiences confusion. Please call me if you find him, something like that. So make sure that you have something with his or her name on there as well. The last thing before we switch to gift ideas when it comes to travel is be realistic about the person's abilities. Think again to that reality, expectation, and frustration. Reality is your loved one's brain is changing. They are probably experiencing some sort of confusion or potential confusion. And remember your own emotional health as well. Use time after travel to reflect and think, what might I try differently next time? Always remind yourself that you do have options to cut the trip short if things are going terribly, terribly stressful for you and your care partner. That certainly is an option. But as much as possible, this is a holiday for you too. So try to think of other solutions before you cancel the trip or before you cut the trip short. Any questions, comments about traveling before we move on to gift giving? Okay. When we talk about gift giving with someone living with dementia, it's a very personal, individual process. I'm going to give you lots of ideas, lots of brainstorming ideas that I came up with. And think about how you might adjust these or tweak these a little bit, or maybe come up with your own ideas. This is just to get us started. So certainly when we're thinking about gift giving ideas, if someone is very early in their disease process or very early living with dementia, they might still be able to do many things independently, or they may be able to do things that they previously have enjoyed with a companion. So you might think about tickets to a musical event or a sporting event that they might like. Think about a fruit basket or some frozen meals delivered to them or ordered through a company. You might think about getting them a cleaning service for a certain number of weeks or even one time. You might also think about a photo album or a collage of the family. When we talk about the stages, that's not a hard and fast rule. It's not 100%, okay, this person is in early stage, this person is in middle stage, this person is in late stage. There's going to be movement between the stages. So again, just adjust your expectations accordingly, that everyone has good days and bad days, even people living with dementia. When we throw in the holidays and the travel and the extra noise, the extra sensory overload potential, there's absolutely a chance that normally they're doing well, they can still drive, they can manage their own money, and around the holidays, they may not be able to do that at all, or as much as they have been doing in the past. So some other gift giving ideas for someone in middle stage might be activities that involve sorting or arranging or cutting. You might get a stack of greeting cards and have them take the fronts off and make something for someone, or just sort them out. Picture books are nice gifts for people that are in moderate or middle stage moving toward the latter stages. There are beautiful, incredible books about nature and history or famous people that they might enjoy. Flowers, butterflies, gardening, cars. The picture books are beautiful and well done. You might also think about easy to manage clothing that maybe a pair of house slippers that has Velcro, or maybe some clothing that they can easily manipulate, a new scarf, a new sweater, a new shawl for their shoulders. If you are gifted with the ability to sew or knit or make quilts, this would be a beautiful gift to give someone. Finally, when someone is in the later stages, or if they're just having a more difficult time around the holidays, think about some hand lotion or some nice body lotion. Think about a lap blanket. You might even think about something called a fidget blanket that has keys and zippers and little things attached to it. Think about comfortable clothing, a stuffed animal or a doll or a pillow. There's different trains of thought, different schools of thought about giving someone with dementia a stuffed animal or a baby doll. And I say, if it works, be willing to try that. If it's something that your loved one is in earlier stages and they say, why are you giving me this? What do you think, I'm a baby? Okay, note to self. And you can just apologize and say, no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you feel like a baby. I really was just trying to be helpful, and move on to something else. Try not to take it personally, and then move on to something else. But you don't know until you try. They may really appreciate something that they can snuggle with, or something that they can interact with in that way. Some other gift ideas for any stage might include a large print book or a large print calendar, a small radio, again, a pillow, a blanket, a house coat, a nice pair of fuzzy socks, a balloon. It's amazing how a person's face will light up when they are given a fun bunch, a little bunch of balloons. Another gift idea might be a coupon book that you create. It says something like, this coupon is good for one hand massage and manicure. This coupon is good for one shoulder rub. This coupon is good for one drive with some hot chocolate. So a coupon book is a fun gift idea. A photo book or a photo album. There are so many companies nowadays. I'm sure you've heard of many of them. Shutterfly, even Walgreens, Walmart, Target has services that you can put together a photo album book. You download the pictures, drop them into where you want them, then the book comes all made. A really, really nice idea to think about. You might also think about a puzzle book or a book of poems or a book of prayers. I was talking to one lady and she presented very, very well. She presented that she was together. She didn't need a lot of help. She always did the New York Times crossword puzzle. I mean, really, really hard, in my opinion, because I don't do crossword puzzles very well. Really, really hard, difficult, challenging crossword puzzles. She started to experience some confusions, some cognitive changes, and she was devastated that she could not do these New York Times crossword puzzles anymore. Someone found a book for her and it said, large print, easy crossword puzzles. And there was it was a thick book. It was about 200 puzzles in there. And she loved it. She loved it. She could see it better and she was feeling successful. So just because your loved one or your friend may have been at a certain place, we have to kind of let go of what was and realize what is. They may not be able to say, God, this crossword puzzle, I can't follow it anymore. It's too hard for me to do. So be willing to offer a simpler solution. Same thing with jigsaw puzzles. Someone might have enjoyed doing 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzles. That might be too challenging for them for a number of different ways. Their vision, those pieces are tiny. Their manual dexterity, again, little tiny pieces that fingers with arthritis or some neuropathy don't function as well, getting those pieces together. Maybe try a 250-piece puzzle. If they quickly whip through it and say, why did you give me this? You must think I'm a baby. Just apologize and try to find a middle. Go back to a 500-piece puzzle or a 750-piece puzzle. We don't have to throw out the entire event just because they're no longer able to do a 1,000-piece puzzle. And they may get to the point where maybe a 50-piece puzzle is challenging and entertaining enough for them. Be willing to experiment. When I think of all the work that all of you are doing as family caregivers and friends, maybe professionals, I am amazed at the creative problem solving that all of you do on a day-to-day basis. It's like you have to wear a hat of a detective. What's working today? How can I tweak it for tomorrow? What did I do well that they seem to enjoy yesterday? How can I duplicate that moving forward? So be willing to be a detective, and thank you for doing that. The other thing is you might consider, again, depending on the person, what they've enjoyed in the past, maybe they would like some costume jewelry. If a lady has been used to wearing beautiful necklaces and earrings, you don't have to spend a lot of money to bring joy to someone. It's something that they have enjoyed in the past. So again, nail polish, lotion, manicure, Think about a subscription to a magazine or a newspaper that they have enjoyed. There are lots of magazines out right now specifically for the aging population. There's one called Reminisce, there's one called Good Times, and they have old stories, old pictures to evoke memories and reminiscing and connection. Maybe a deck of cards or some marbles. Now, again, you're going to want to think about what is the person's ability and interest. We want to be careful with things like marbles for someone that's at the more advanced stage because they might think it's a piece of hard candy. But for someone who used to enjoy a bag of marbles and they're in the earlier stages, they might have a lot of fun with that. Flowers are a nice gift, or a planter, something for their room or something for them to enjoy. You might also think about children's drawings or a bulletin board. If your loved one has grandchildren or nieces or nephews, ask the children to draw some pictures for your loved one. It's not only super fun to receive mail, it's a wonderful gift idea, because who doesn't love a little child's drawing of a Christmas tree or of Santa Claus or whatever they come up with? You might also think about a small food item that the person enjoys. Some of the other things that you might think about include a donation to an organization that the person has supported in the past. If they really have so many things I'm offering are about an experience. Most people, as they age, we don't need more things, right? We don't need another vase. We don't need another picture frame. We don't need another basket. But there's things that you can put in a picture frame or a vase or a basket that will help create an experience. Some other gift ideas might include some coffee or tea that they would enjoy. Maybe a medication holder, something practical. Think about practical gifts. If they're really struggling with managing their medication, maybe you can find a medication holder or a medication reminder that they have nowadays. Photo albums, again, that are maybe already put together with the person's name already attached, so they don't have to feel embarrassed if they open up the photo album and they don't recognize anyone in here. They might not feel comfortable saying, I don't know who any of these people are, but they might enjoy saying, Cousin Sally at the beach. Oh, Cousin Sally, I love Cousin Sally. Think about a gift certificate for a haircut or a manicure. If you don't feel comfortable doing a manicure with your loved one yourself, think about a gift certificate for someone to come in or to go someplace for a haircut or a manicure. Think about music. Again, what kind of music do they like? Do they like the Carpenters or do they like the Beatles? Do they like rock and roll music with Elvis Presley, or do they like slow piano music? Think about taking them for a shopping excursion and lunch. Offer them a certificate for some physical therapy or some exercise. Again, if they've always enjoyed exercising, they might really love a gift certificate at an Alaska Club or the YMCA. And I know we have people calling in from all over the state. Obviously, these might not be available in your particular area. But again, this is just to brainstorm, start thinking of some options. Think about a bird feeder that can be attached to the outside of a window that they might really enjoy watching, viewing, and then of course include some bird feed with it. Or a tape or a CD of bird music. Think about a gift certificate to an adult day service or a transportation. If you know that they're having difficulty getting around, maybe you can offer to help them figure out how to use a cane or a walker. So those are some general ideas for gifts that I came up with. And I see that some folks in the chat box said, Deborah said, a gift of a digital picture frame that the family can all email photos to, and it automatically downloads them, has a continuous slideshow. That has been a fantastic gift. Wonderful idea, Deborah. Someone else said, Rose said, we were recently gifted with a puzzle with family pieces. It has small, medium, and large pieces in the same puzzle so that people of different abilities can all work on the same puzzle. Beautiful. And then she gave the website. Rose, that's wonderful. It's https://www.cobblehillpuzzles.com. COBBLEHILL puzzles.com. The other thing I want to mention, and I'm going to put in the chat box here, is Alzheimer's Resource of Alaska partners with the Alaska Mental Health Trust Authority to provide mini grants for anyone in the entire state of Alaska who is living with Alzheimer's or related dementia. A related dementia is vascular dementia, frontal temporal dementia, Lewy body dementia, Parkinson's. And we have a mini grant that's up to $2,500 for anything not covered by another funding source. That means all these gift ideas that I'm mentioning can be purchased using mini grant money. So I'm going to take a few minutes, and I put our website in the chat box, www.alzalaska.org. There's some drop-down menus, and you can find the drop-down menu that says services and supports, something like that. And go to the option that says mini grants. This is how the mini grant works. The most important thing with the mini grant is nothing can be paid for and a receipt turned in. It has to be approved ahead of time. So let's say you want to get a puzzle book, some costume jewelry, some incontinence products, some pairs of socks, a balloon bouquet, and it comes to $500. You would need to go to the, or one of these puzzles, for example, that Rose mentioned. You would want to go to that website, print off an invoice or a statement of what it is that you're looking for. Be sure to include the shipping charges. Then you can fax, mail in, or return in person the mini grant application and your request, all stapled or all paper clipped together. And then it would be approved for the following month. So you do have to do a little bit of advanced planning, meaning our mini grant application deadline is the first Tuesday of the month. So that would be the first Tuesday in December. Between now and the first Tuesday in December, you can go to these websites, pick out the items that your loved one would like, put it all together in a pack, turn it into Alzheimer's Resource. It will be approved very quickly. That following week, you will be getting a notification to go ahead and the items that you've requested have been approved. So you could get them by Christmas, in other words. That's the biggest thing with the mini grant. There are all kinds of companies nowadays that are specifically focusing on materials and information for seniors. There is a company called the Alzheimer's Store, and that's www.alzstore.com. There's also a company called S&S Prime Life. You can go to their website and order some things. They have craft supplies, they have gift ideas, they have therapeutic supplies. There's a company called Buck and Buck that makes clothing specifically for people that are living with dementia or cognitive changes. S and S Prime Life. Now we want to talk a little bit about, so there's lots of ideas for gifts. Before we move on to some communication tips, I want to mention one other gift that I forgot, and those are mechanical pets, mechanical cats or dogs. The nice thing about that is, of course, there's no cleanup, and your loved one might really enjoy a mechanical dog or cat. They're about a foot and a half long. They're soft. They have a switch underneath that you can turn it on. The cat meows, moves its ears, wags its tail. The dog, of course, will bark and wag its tail. They're wonderful ideas to think about. Pets are great on a number of different levels. So anything that you can think of, and like I said, if you're interested in the mini grant, think about the shipping charges as well, so that you don't have to pay for shipping charges. Really, when we think about gift ideas, the options are almost endless. You want to be careful of anything that will require supervision, such as any kind of thing with chemicals or paint, things like that, things with sharp edges. Even if they used to be very good at tools, you might want to just maybe think about something else that they can be safe with. So we definitely want to be aware of safety issues. So finally, just want to end with some communication tips. One of the biggest issues that comes up in communicating with someone living with dementia is emotional connection. We want to meet the person where they are. So let's say, for example, someone says, I want to go home. I've got to get out of here. I need my mom. I've got to go home. How do we address that? How do we meet them where they are? How do we assist them to feel a sense of calm and comfort and a sense of safety, frankly? When we talk about emotional truth, think about meeting the person where they are. Think about, how can I help this person to feel calm and validate them? There used to be something called, there used to be a concept called reality, orienting the person to reality orientation. We do not use reality orientation anymore. That would be something like this. An older person says, I need my mom. I've got to go home. I need to get out of here. I need my mom. Reality orientation would be, oh no, no. Your mom died 30 years ago. Your mom's not here anymore. There have been all kinds of studies and research that have been done. When we try to orient someone to reality, especially someone living with dementia, that does not work. The process that we use now is called person-centered care. Person-centered care meets the person where they are and validates the emotional truth of what they're saying. So for example, someone says, I need my mom. Think about what a person could be needing emotionally if they were to say that. For some people, that means they need to use the bathroom and they're just too embarrassed to say, I have to use the bathroom. It's easier to say, I need my mom. For other people, it means they're hungry, or they need a hug, or they're lonely, or they need direction. They don't know what's happening next. They need a connection. Same thing with going home. I need to go home, somebody might say. Again, reality orientation might say, oh, you are home. This is your home. Look around. This is all your stuff. That doesn't help someone who is struggling with confusion. So we want to think about, what does home represent? Hopefully, home is a place where people have felt loved and received, nurtured, taken care of, where they are known and loved, cared for, cared about. So in both of those cases, person-centered care would say something like this: tell me about your mom. Tell me about your home. You might even, it doesn't have to be, you might not know what home they're thinking of. You might even say things like, is this the home that was by the water? Is this the home that you lived in next to the school or next to the church? No, 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 no. I got to go home. I got to get out of here. So the more we know about a person, the more we will be able to help them in moments of confusion or moments of sadness or moments of disorientation. Think about what you know about that person and be willing to offer anything, all the while thinking, what can I do to hear where this person is, not discount their reality, and yet find a way for them to feel supported? So you might say, again, tell me about your mom, or what is your mom wearing? Or what is your mom doing right now? You might get a sense of what they're looking for. Oh, or you might offer, is your mom wearing that pretty blue dress? Is your mom making dinner right now? You're not saying to them, yes, I've seen your mom. You're trying to meet them at the point of their emotional need. Same thing with going home. Now, going home, this is interesting. Researchers have actually taken people that have dementia back to an old home, a physical place. And people have said, no, this isn't what I'm talking about. This isn't what I mean. I want to go home. So when someone says that, again, think about what they might be needing at home. Sometimes for people, home means heaven, or home means a place beyond this earth. Don't shy away from those conversations. If you're feeling comfortable, you can say, are you thinking about heaven? Are you thinking about someone that has already passed? It's really okay if they start to cry a little bit, if they have some emotions that they're sharing. You can offer comfort, you can be with them, you can connect with them. If they ask you a direct question, I personally believe it's okay to be honest. If they make a direct statement, meet them where they are. So let me give you an example. Before I started working at Alzheimer's Resource, I was the activity director at a large assisted living here in Anchorage. There was one man, and he would come up to us every day and he would say, well, my wife is coming today. Jan's coming to get me today. Now, his wife had died many years before. So we would use this opportunity. Again, we didn't say to him, oh, no, 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 your wife died. Can you imagine if somebody is waiting for their wife or their husband, or they're wanting to go home, and we say, no, this is your home. No, your spouse died. Your mom died. That would feel devastating. So we would use that to say to, I'll call him John, John, if your wife is coming today, let's get you cleaned up and ready for the day. Let's get you cleaned up then. All the while we're thinking, John really likes to have a little cookie and a cup of coffee. So let's get him going down the other direction. We're not saying that his wife died, but there were times when he would look me directly in the eye and he would say, did my wife die? And I would put my hand on his shoulder, or I would take his hand and I would say, yes, she did. He would cry, he would grieve a little bit. And then the next day he would go back and say, my wife's coming, Jan's coming to get me today. And that was so profound for me to realize when he makes a direct statement that he's waiting for his wife, then that's where we meet them. But when he would ask me a direct question, I would call it a little moment, a little window for him to grieve a little bit, and I would answer him honestly. So I hope that's a good example that you can use for your loved ones or friends. And then, like I said, then we would be thinking about John, what we knew about John. Oh, John, we're getting ready to make some fresh coffee. And I know that you really like to read the newspaper. But again, be willing to be with them, and wherever they are, meet them emotionally. When conversations become difficult, or when conversations become almost non-existent, that's okay. Learn the art of the monologue. You might even have to write a list of things that you can talk with your loved one or friend about. I have a form that I use. It's called Who I Am. And I can email that to each of you that I see on the screen here. And Renee, I just need your last name or your email address. You can put that in the chat box directly to me if you like. Everyone else, I'm guessing we have your email, and I will send you the Who I Am. It's a series of questions that, to our knowledge, does not have any copyright information, so you can use this at your leisure. The Who I Am tool is so cool because it talks about things that bring solace or comfort, things I like to watch on TV. Give me an opportunity to reminisce about. Here is information about my family. And don't be surprised at some of the answers, even if they're not quite what you thought. We're not using this Who I Am document for historical accuracy. We're using it to make a connection. So again, when I worked at the assisted living, I would meet with each new family coming in, and I talked to this one man and I said, so what did you do when you were in the working world? And he thought about it for a minute and he said, I was a firefighter. His daughter, his adult daughter, was there. She slammed her hand down on the table and she said, Dad, you were not a firefighter. You saw fire one time on TV. And that was it. And I said, and I told the daughter, I said, you know what? It's okay. If your dad wants to say that he was a firefighter, I'm not using this document for historical accuracy. I'm just using it to establish a connection, that I care about him, that what he is offering is enough. Even if it's not what we would call true, it's really okay. We don't have to pick that mountain to die on. We can let it go, meet the person where they are. So at this time, I really want to hear from each of you. What are you thinking about? What are you wondering about? You can unmute yourself, use the chat box. There is one thing here from someone. They said they got one of the mechanical pets as a birthday gift, and we were surprised at how much fun we had with that. Lots of laughs. Yes, those mechanical pets are really, really fun. I would encourage you, again, check out our information about mini grants, check out our information about other things and that you can do with your loved ones. Let me give you a few more communication tips, just while maybe people are typing or while you're formulating some thoughts. When we talk about communication, one of the most challenging parts is the repeat questions. If someone that you're living with, your loved one, or someone that you're working with, they might start to have repeat questions. What are we doing today? What's going on? Where are we going? What's happening today? That's an indication for me, that's a reminder they're looking for some sort of structure. You want to have structure in the day with flexibility, meaning all of us kind of like to know what's happening. all of us kind of like a sense of control. If your loved one starts to ask a lot of repeat questions, that's a tip for you that they are maybe feeling a little bored. They're wanting to know what's coming next. They're wanting to know what's happening. So you might think about doing some extra activities with them or having someone come into your home that can provide some stimulation. Again, much easier said than done. I know that in not all the outlying areas is it easy to find an in-home service worker. Sometimes not even in Anchorage. The demands are very high sometimes. If you can get a family friend, a neighbor, a relative to come in and do some activities with your loved one, that would be a really lovely opportunity to provide some structure in the day. The repeat questions tend to be exhausting for family caregivers, which leads me to the next little part that we can talk a little bit about. I would really be remiss if I didn't spend a few minutes talking about caregiver self-care. And I'm talking about so much more than just a bubble bath, because that's, first of all, that's not always practical. Second of all, finding the time to do that is sometimes very challenging. Self-care for you as family caregivers or friends or professionals is critical. I know this is an example you've heard. It's overused, but it clearly gets the point across. If you are on the plane and the oxygen mask comes down, secure your own oxygen mask first, and then try to assist someone else. If you get knocked out of the game, out of exhaustion, out of fear, out of frustration, out of guilt, out of worry, then your loved one is going to need extra help. It's so important to start thinking about circles of support. Who can I count on? Who can I ask? Who can I help to have me supported? You might actually consider making a list, and this would be a gift to yourself. Sometimes people, friends might call and say something like, "Oh, I know that your loved one is struggling. Let me know if you need anything," right? They may be very honest in they want to provide something, but they have absolutely no idea what to offer. So if you have a list, some of the things you might include might say, "Gosh, thank you so much. If you could pick up my grocery list, I would love if you would grab some groceries for me." Or, other side of the same coin, "If you could come and sit with my loved one while I go to the grocery store, that would be brilliant." You might also think of some of these gift ideas that we talked about and letting someone else do that. If you know someone from a community organization or your faith community, a neighbor, a friend who enjoys polishing their nails, they might say, "Gosh, let me know if you need anything." And you might say, "My mom would love to get her nails done, and I just don't have the patience. Would you come over Tuesday at 4 o'clock and polish my mom's nails? I'll have it all set out for you. I'll be right there making dinner," and see if they step up. Now, some people, of course, have really good intentions, but they have not as good of the ability to follow through. And that's okay. Don't take it personally. Just realize that maybe they really want to help, or maybe it's just comfortable to say, "Gosh, let me know if you need anything," not expecting that you might say, "Yes, I would love if you would help me out with something." The other thing is, some people, friends, coworkers, church community can help with making phone calls. If you're at the point where you're thinking about an assisted living, for example, if someone says, "Gosh, I know that your dad is having a hard time. Let me know if you need anything." You might say, I know you're really good with the computer. I would love if I could have you just check out the websites of 2 or 3 assisted livings and let me know what you think. It's hard for us to ask for help. We are used to being fiercely independent. We are used to pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps and getting the job done. It is so critically important to expand your circle of support when you are living or working with someone who's living with dementia. And again, if you get knocked out, if your oxygen mask is not securely on, it's going to be stressful for both of you. I also encourage family caregivers to do some preparation work ahead of time, whether it's for getting in-home services, having someone come into your home and provide some what they call respite or housekeeping assistance or personal care assistance with your loved one. It's important to think about setting some things up before there's a critical need. If you wait until you are absolutely at the point of needing help or you're going to pull your hair out, no one is at their best if we wait until there's a crisis. Again, easier said than done, but try not to wait until there's an absolute crisis. Try to think about setting some things up ahead of time so that you have some go-to places and you can say, okay, I'm ready. Let's go ahead and start in-home services, or let's have mom or dad or husband or wife start at adult day services or whatever it might be. Caregiver self-care is about making time for what nurtures you. During these holiday times, it's especially important for you to find time for yourself. There might be extra demands, extra expectations that are put on you. And I just would really, again, encourage all of us to learn to be comfortable at accepting help, especially if you have a friend or a neighbor faith community that says, hey, let us know if there's something we can do. Make a list of what someone might do and be willing to release some of that control and let them actually step in and help. Questions, thoughts, comments? Okay, so we covered a lot of material today. I'm don't have anything else that I had prepared to share. So we talked about travel. And again, for any of the things that we're talking about, travel, gift giving, communication, take a few minutes and center yourself first. Just take a couple deep breaths, especially when you start to feel that frustration. Again, here's reality. We can't change reality. How far is your expectation from reality? And that's as much frustration. You might have more frustration if your expectations are higher. We want to think about balance. We want to think about being flexible. I heard a quote once that said, "Blessed are the flexible, for we shall not get bent out of shape." And I think that's so important for us as family caregivers or us as professional providers. We have to be flexible when it comes to someone whose brain is changing. Be prepared for travel, be flexible, be willing to travel. And for gift giving, think outside the box. Think about anything the person might enjoy and how you can incorporate that into their day-to-day routine. As I mentioned, next month we will meet on Saturday, December 17th from 10 to 11:30 a.m. I will have a list of activities that you can engage in for yourself and your loved one. We'll also talk about honoring connection and what that means, how to keep visits positive. And we'll talk about the spiritual side of living with a person with dementia and what that means. Deborah had another idea here. My sister had the great idea to make sure there's a plan for folks to go on a walk at the drop of a hat in case things get clearly overwhelming for our loved one or for anyone else. Fresh air is such a game changer. Deborah, thank you. That is such a powerful reminder. I have to remind myself of that. If I'm starting to feel overwhelmed, Couple deep breaths, stand up, stretch, and get outside if I can. Beautiful idea. So again, hope to see you all next month, Saturday, December 17th at 10 a.m. I will do a similar Zoom connection like this one where no registration will be required. You'll just be able to click on the link and come right into our Zoom room. Any closing thoughts, comments, questions, concerns? Thank you for the nice word of encouragement, Rose. Appreciate that. Please reach out if we can be of any assistance. Again, we're at www.alzalaska.org. My name is Debbie Chulick. I'm one of the dementia educators. I'm in our Anchorage office, and our Anchorage office is 907-561-3313. I'm going to put my email, which is my first initial and last name. You can call or email me anytime. I will let you know that as of November 23rd, I will be going on vacation. I'm going to do some self-care myself. I'm going to Israel for 10 days. So I will not be back until just a few days before our next presentation on December 17th. But you can always call and ask for any of the education specialists or dementia educators. If you want to have a Zoom consultation or over the phone consultation or in-person consultation, we are happy to meet with you and support you in any way that we can.